Welcome back to another episode, another installment of Day One Radio, right here on ablradio.com. That's Art, Beats, and Lyrics Radio to be exact. Make sure you download the very free, very accessible smartphone app for your iPhone and Android devices, and tell them where they can find the entire Day One Radio catalog.
You can always find the old episodes or the past episodes. We're not going to say it's old. On day1radio.com, Spreaker, iTunes, SoundCloud, anywhere else they do a podcast.
For sure, man. I wish I would have been sneaky and did the old trick where you just hit record whenever somebody's talking. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't want to.
Studio trick. The studio trick.
I ain't want to do the OG like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. So, yeah, we got, man, this is a brother, and we've said this a few times. This is a brother that we've wanted to have on the podcast, I would say, at least for the last 2 years. And everything finally came together today, man. One of the most unsung, unheralded producers in hip-hop for sure. Legendary artist from a legendary group, the first hip-hop band who went on and moved out of New York and got heavy into the tech space, man. So we're going to talk about everything from Stet to the solo work to the tech stuff and a little bit in between. We got the one and only Daddy-O. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How you, man?
Hey, welcome. We glad to have you, man. So let's start, dude. East New York. You guys probably are like the first group that
Fat
we
Boys,
knew
really.
of.
So I live right around the corner from Mark, Buff,
Prince Marky D,
and Cool Rock. Me and Cool Rock Ski's brother went to school together because he's younger than me. So I'm right around the corner from the Fat Boys. So yeah, I think I give it to the Fat Boys because they won the contest at Tin Pan Apple a year before we got our deal because that's what inspired us.
Okay,
to go, and we won our deal through a contest. That's what inspired because we wanted to win that Tin Pan Apple thing, and we didn't enter.
And that was the whole Crush Groove thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that was around that. That was around that time. Yeah, so. Yeah, Fat Boys. I would say Fat Boys. And then there's probably some other people that would say somebody else because they always, after I say something, everybody always come at me and say, no, it was somebody else before that.
I got the flyer to prove
Yeah, I know.
Right. Cool,
yeah,
Rock Love
Fat
or
Boys,
somebody.
Fat Boys, but, you know, I guess they was more of a group and we was kind of more of a crew.
Okay.
You know, we had that same energy that Wu-Tang or one of them.
Yeah, y'all was deep.
Yeah.
Y'all was super deep. So how did the whole Stetsasonic thing come together? Because you guys started off as like a trio, right?
Yeah, it was the Stetsasonic 3 MCs. Delight and I started. We got a taste of hip hop and started wanting to rap, so we started writing rhymes. Said we wanted to form a group. We knew we wanted to have at least 3 MCs because we listening to everybody. We listening to Fantastic, Cold Crush, Flash and them, Macedon Committee, a bunch of other little groups here and there. Like when Busy Bee and them used to get together and a couple of them. And so we said we want to have at least 3. We knew we didn't want to do the duo thing. It wasn't a lot of duos around, but we just knew we didn't want to do that. We wasn't sure we was going to go to like 5 or 4, but we knew we wanted to have 3. And okay. I think Delight could check me on this if I'm not right, but I think that we ended up choosing 3 because of Treacherous. Because there was a continuity. If you think about it, probably the most evenly matched rap group of all time is the Treacherous 3.
Melody.
Yeah, because Phife don't really match Q-Tip.
Right.
You know, Vinny don't really match Tretch.
Eric and Paris don't
really
match.
The only other twosome is probably UGK. And that's because it's so variably different. Because sometimes you just forget Bun, and sometimes you just forget Chad. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and then other times you're like, shit, I'm glad they're in the same group. You know what I'm saying? Because I got, you know what I'm saying? Like, you listen to a record like Murder on Riding Dirty, and then you're just like, I'm glad they together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because it was enough.
Right.
After Pimp spit, and then Bun just came out. I was like, oh, whoa.
Okay.
Where did that come from? Like,
I'm out. So,
yeah.
But Treacherous was real evenly matched. And so we, and then you got to understand the time, so I can't compare UGK and Treacherous because UGK is a much later time. This is early New York when everybody's doing routines and performing at the Fever and Uptown and friggin' Rooftop and all of that. So to see those kind of groups come in and then to see that even match, even though Mo was the leader, K and Sunshine wasn't no slouches at all. 3 different voices. They was attacking it different than when they came together. So I think that's why we ended up choosing 3. So we bleeded the roster a couple of times.
Yeah.
There's a couple of brothers that's out there right now we still mess with to this day, but they was part of the Stetsasonic 3 MCs, but ended up getting shuffled out. My man Del D, called himself Del Diamonds now. My man Shamel, even Crown Supreme, who was the first 3rd member of Stetsasonic. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So y'all was doing this before Slum Village made that look like a thing where it's like, we're going to
Slum
switch
Village was probably little boys when we was doing it. If they was born.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did it get from the 3 people to 7?
It got from the 3 people to 7 because it's a couple of things. So Delight is a wordsmith in way more words than one, like, if that makes sense. He created the name Stetsasonic. There was all the shaping that he would do. So I'm kind of the raw energy, and Delight knows how to bring it down and shape it.
Gotcha.
And so I'm, you got to do it this way, D, this way, and no, don't forget that now. And so, part of what we were doing, I would always get this advice from him as to, even with DBC coming in the group, all of that, I would get this advice from him like, oh, which way to go, which way to go, which way to go. And so we came to the conclusion that we just did not want to not duplicate what we made in the studio on stage because we knew we wanted to have these dope shows.
Right.
And, I say this often, back in those days, the only people that had wax that, now Serato and all that, but the only people that had wax that they could afford to buy instrumental wax was Run DMC. They used to go to Europa Disc, and Jay used to have all of these instrumentals for Run DMC. But if you look at some of the old 12 inches, you'll see that we made TV tracks. Like, who does that? Who makes TV tracks on a record? We did that for our performances. It wasn't really for the guys that play in the club. Right. It wasn't like the Jamaicans dub play or like an instrumental. It was literally a TV track with the chorus and all the other things in there, so we could our DJ could put it on and we could play it, and we could rap to it with be live rapping, but then the chorus come in to help us out. So so that's vocally, but even musically it was the same way. Like a lot of times people couldn't, if they didn't have a full instrumental or whatever to play underneath them, they would have to rap on top of their records or whatever, just to make it work. Right. We never wanted to do that. We always wanted to have a live feel to it. You know what I'm saying? Because we live. It's different than record. We could do anything on record, but live you can't duplicate anything. And then, you got to understand who we grew up looking at. So there's no hip-hop before us. So we grew up looking at Jackson 5 live, Earth, Wind & Fire live, War live, Brass Construction live. So even though we rapping, we feel like we need to duplicate that energy. And so what ends up happening is that everything we did, we say, we taking all of this on stage with us. And so that's how it goes from the 3 MCs to the 7, because once we start making records, now we start making sounds. We got a Lin drum, we got a DMX drum machine, we got a drummer, we got some keyboards, all types of keyboards, we got a sampler. So we starting to make stuff now. So how are we going to duplicate this? How are we going to get on stage and do Sally? How are we going to get on stage and do My Rhyme or Go Stetsa? So we had to have all of that to perform.
During that time, though, it was kind of like, now, we see rappers perform with a band or even a drummer or keys, whatever, all the time. At that time, it was pretty much unheard of, right?
Yeah, it was just us. I mean, if you listen to Run DMC's Rock Box, you hear them talk about Jay rocking without a band.
Yeah.
That was a big thing, to have the turntablists as the music.
Yeah.
So it was a big thing, and it was kind of sort of anti-band. Remember, MTV was a bunch of long hairs and bands and stuff. So it was kind of anti-band. So it was like, it was kind of sort of I say this often. I say the real definition of hip-hop on the music side is 2 turntables and a microphone. Nothing more, nothing less. So, everybody was there. And it was unique, and it was also exciting to kind of go up against some of these disco singers and some of these rock bands and just bring your DJ and just do it and be nice.
Right.
So that was, that was a big thing. For us, we knew we had one of the baddest boys in the land anyway. So why not enhance it with something else? And so when we think about, like, Wise doing something with his mouth, Paul doing something with the turntables, Bobby doing something on the drums, and then DBC having the ASR 10 and throwing in some samples, we like, that's crazy on the sound side. And we not going to take away from Paul, but what we going to do, we really going to, so now that stomping element becomes, because, competition is the cornerstone of hip-hop. None of us would have made it had we not been trying to compete. And so that competition kind of went from us against each other to us against the rest of the other types of music besides reggae, who was our friend. But everybody else hated us. Everybody else, Whitney, all of them, was running around saying, that's not real music and all of that. So we had to do what we had to do. And the Light, again, being my, like, conspirator in competition, was like, yeah, D, whatever you feel like throwing at them, let's keep going. Nobody but the Light was agreeing to what we were doing as we continued to add people to the group, because those people came in one by one. Right. People like Chuck Chillout used to tell me, Daddy, why don't you just leave them and come with me?
Wow.
And just be by yourself. You know what I'm saying? I used to look at them like they was crazy.
Like, how'd you make that work, man? Because, fast forward to now, man, it's hard to find 5 rap groups. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's like on the solo tip. You guys was rocking that deep back then. It's like, we always hear the story, oh man, too many personalities, too much this going on, life getting in the way. I got kids, I got bills. Like, how did you guys make that work, being that, you didn't really have a blueprint? You named the bands.
We did. That was our blueprint, though.
Okay.
It was the bands. You got to understand, we weren't looking at hip-hoppers. See, that's the difference between them and us, and I'm not trying to make a distinction at all. But the difference between them and us is that we wasn't looking at anybody hip-hop. We had to look at the black music that came before us.
Right.
I did a video blog a few months ago after this whole Bambaataa pederasty thing came out. And it went viral. It was titled, Should I Divorce Hip-Hop? And my point was, what's my I'm from Brooklyn, right? What's my reason for saying hip hop? My only reason for saying hip hop is because everybody else said it. Because what I thought I was doing was an extension of the black music that was in front of me.
Right.
Right? I thought I was doing James Brown, but in my own way. I thought I was doing Earth, Wind, and Fire, but in my own way. So why am I saying hip hop? Like, I'm saying hip hop because everybody else is saying hip hop. And then it just started kind of, and it still does. It weighs on me very heavy that, you got these Bronx cats, but they got a different mind state than everybody else. They got a different mind state than the Queens cats. They got a different mind state than the Brooklyn cats. They got a different mind state than everybody else. And I'm saying, I don't know what the hell they was up there doing. I don't know if they had some kind of initiation booty shit. I don't know what they was doing, right? And I have to be honest about that. And so, when you start thinking about it, you start looking at it. It's not even a dope thing half the time to look at. You know what I'm saying? As the music piece, especially after we started making records, as that grows, man, you begin to see people come from all types of places that are just the dopest ever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Bun. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people that come out of places and there's nothing to say, but that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it ain't your experience. So I don't ever think that this thing was made just for us. But the point of the matter is that, yes, these guys jump-started a few things, and there's some debate about it. There's actually a full movie on YouTube called The Originators. No, The Originators, I think. Chuck D is the narrator, and my friend Sonny Hassanpour did the movie. And he showed, he made a good argument for hip-hop coming out of Brooklyn and Queens. Because the Disco Twins and all of them was doing that and stuff before, because they came right after Flowers, before Flash. Flash came later after them. They was following Flowers and Maboya and them, and they started doing the backspins, and they had all the Richard Longs, they had the best sound systems and all of that. So, and I mean, they had sound systems that'll stomp anything in the Bronx. Even Sasquatch couldn't mess with them. You know what I'm saying? And so, but they did do some things, they organized some things, but I just got to be brutally honest, and that's why I literally asked my people that's out there in the audience, like, should I just say I'm black music? Should I say I'm rap music? Because then rap doesn't sound so bad to me. Yeah. Because Luther would say he R&B, and Bob Marley would say he reggae. So then rap don't sound so bad to me. I know it's black. Ain't no white boy do it first. You know what I'm saying? So then, you know what I'm saying? Should I say I'm rap music, or should I say I'm hip hop? Because now hip hop is saying a culture, but it's not a culture I created. It's something I assimilated. So would I have done that? We never looked like them when we came to the Latin Quarter, because we from Brooklyn, so we wore different colors, different types of things. We had tailor-made pants, and you know what I'm saying? So am I that? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's a question, like, it's a real big issue as to, how that relates.
And it's like that's a discussion that's even happened like after that, because I remember, like, shout out to the homie CJ from Console Kings. We was on a road trip one time.
Yeah, shout out CJ.
And somebody was playing something, and he kind of turned it off. Cause it must have been something that was from New York. I hate to sound like that, but he was like, "You know what, bruh? I just realized I don't really fuck with that hip hop shit. I like rap. I like rap, bruh. I like rap music. Hip hop, you know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, that's real, because the irony of what you're saying is there were differences within the 5 boroughs.
Absolutely.
But for us, being all the way across the country in the Bay Area, we didn't care or know whatever. It was just like, okay, they from New York. That's cool. But we had our own shit going on shortly thereafter. Like,
shout out Richie Rich, man.
Yeah, that's my cousin. Actually,
he one of the best I ever do.
Yeah,
that's
Rich
my
is
nigga
my cousin.
Right there.
Free Richie Rich,
you know
man. Hold your head,
yeah.
you down. But I mean, we were listening to Short, and people in the 80s, and then we loved, the LL and obviously Stet. And this is pre Yo MTV Raps, when everybody got
absolutely.
I just knew what my cousins played.
Yeah.
I knew what my older brother played.
You guys are a little special, and let me tell you why. Just like in certain places in Chicago, is special because they had Pink House. Well, these guys had the Wake Up Show.
Yeah.
So them having a Wake Up Show kind of makes it, you know what I'm saying? I like pound for pound, the best Biggie verses that you'll ever hear on the Wake Up Show.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? That's big. So you gotta understand, there's a Daddy-O freestyle from the Wake Up Show. If you hear it right now, you be like, damn, I ain't really know Daddy-O was that. And nice. And it was something I wrote going to Gavin, knowing that I was gonna be on their show.
Yeah. And also even because Wake Up Show is like 90, 91. Pre that, I mean, from being out, K-Day in L.A. And then KSOL, the 9 o'clock beat in the Bay Area. Like, they was playing like rap music for real. So
you guys, we had the Fresh Party down here on B103.
So it's interesting, man. So we talked a lot about creating a band and hip hop and assimilating into hip hop. And one thing I think I've only really heard you talk about one time that I think gets overlooked is with Stet, and with everything you produce, is the drums. Like, how did you come up with this drum sound that is still being sampled to this day?
It's the collective of the guys. Like,
okay.
So I hate to always keep doing the comparison thing, but it almost warrants it, right? So nowadays, I'm not saying it's not a collective of guys making the music. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I mean, maybe Mustard on the Beat Hole got a team around him.
He definitely does.
Right?
Definitely does.
But it was also chances, right? Chances, and then I kind of like this sort of the beginning of the creativity. So anytime you at the beginning of something, especially something that's going to last or something big or something innovative, you're going to do a couple of things that like end up lasting or something. And so Stetsasonic wasn't the only ones. I'll just talk about Stet. Okay. We were open to what it could be, and we didn't get stuck on anything. I did a lecture not too long ago at a university in South Carolina, and one of the things that I said to the students is I grabbed my yellow pad with my clipboard, and I said, the problem with you guys? You don't do this. And I grabbed my clipboard, and I wrote down something, like, just scribbled, grabbed it, balled it up, threw it. Wrote something down, looked at it, grabbed it, balled it up, threw it. I did that about 3 or 4 times. I said, but you know how you guys go? And I wrote it down and said, oh, that shit is hot. Let's go record it. I said, you guys don't throw anything away. You think everything you do is dope. And so that was
the reference vocal has become the final mix.
Yeah, so now that's the way the Stet drum thing worked, right? I mean, look, one of the best records that people think we made, which I love the record, I don't know if it's one of the best, but it's a good record, is Go Stetsa. Go Stetsa didn't start off anything like the way it ended up. So the way Go Stetsa starts is this way. It starts off listening to James Brown. Boom. Now, if you listen to the rhyme style, you see we wrote to that. Now take a check to check the pedigree. The rhyme, right? We write to that on the Lindrum. We bring in the drummer. We tell him, we actually have oak tag sheets about as big as that sign. And we write on it. And we tell him, what we want you to do is roll, stops, cymbals, and we just hold it up, and he does a roll. We hold it up, we do a stop. So he said, I can do it, Daddy-O, but I have to keep a beat as I'm doing it. I just can't sit here, and then you go roll, and I go boom. I need to at least know I'm in time with it to, I got to come off of something to come into the roll and have something to come out to. And so I'm going to, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to, but I'm going to just keep something steady. So I said, okay. At that time, we was recording at a place on 37th Street called Calliope. It's not there anymore, but and in Calliope, a lot of times the way we did live drums, because it was really no drum booth, it was the same vocal booth, and it was a little small, not very small, but small. We would put the drum set in there, but we would only mic it up stereo, and then there was a bathroom in the back, so it's as if maybe this room goes 2 back, and there's a bathroom in the back. We put a mic in there just for the ambiance. You know what I'm saying? And basically, that's your drums. So we did it, and that was going to be ideal for me to just get rolls and stops out of. So we did it. We didn't get it, that's back in the day, 24 tracks, so we didn't get a chance to really mix it. We were working with an engineer who, actually, we taught him to go on to do really big things, Bob Power, right? Wow. We was working with Bob, that's the first album, but Bob is anal. So he used to, Daddy-O, I got to leave for my ears. You can't keep turning it up. Like, he's all sensitive, right? So we got tired of his speed. Bob's speed was just a little weird. Like, he's just too slow at everything. And we wanted to hear it quickly. So something happened where Power wasn't in the studio. And that's where we met Coulter. That's where we met Bob Coulter. And Coulter was just coming in to stand in for Power. But what he did was, we never knew a mix could be pushed up that quick because Power had never done it. And so what he did was, he saw something that said drums, right? And it was left, right, ambience, and he pushed those up, and he pushed the vocals up. And I looked at the light, and he looked at me. I said, do you hear that shit? And what it was is us rapping to the drums. And I looked at Coulter. I said, erase every Lindrum track. He said, are you sure? I said, I'm absolutely sure. Again, from the R&B reference of Sly, of the things that we hear about Sly, just erasing total tracks. They said Sly did some of the dopest shit that will never be heard because he just erased it. So I don't like it, erase it.
Wow.
So, you know, that's how we was raised. So, you know, we, shit, erase it. I'm Sly right now. And so we erased all the Lindrum tracks, and Go Stetson became a big, big record for us and sounded great.
Huge record.
You know what I'm saying? But, you know, that's the willingness to experiment.
Right.
And not get locked into that. The whole rhyme style was written to an electronic drum.
That's amazing. So, question, and you was out there, over, under, I can't even give a number. How many people got their chains taken and their sneakers taken when Go Stetson came on in the club?
A guy told me that's the boot. I think he said that's the boot record. I said, what do you mean that's the boot record? He said, Daddy-O, when they play that shit in Rikers Island, they start taking off their boots and throwing them at the speaker. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, I don't know why that record meant, you know, I know it was a lot of Brooklyn in it. You know what I'm saying? I know we went in on Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying, that kind of way. But it seemed like the energy just jumped into that record. And so Go Stetson was that record where probably the only time cats didn't get robbed when it came on was when we was on stage. Because we used to pride ourselves at violence not happening at our concerts at the Latin Quarter, because everybody was getting robbed and all that. Yeah. And niggas never acted wild. Part of it was who we had in the crowd, but part of it was because we thought it was very entertaining. But other than that record come on, shit. I mean, if you was smart enough, you either tuck your shit or move. Yeah. Because it's going to be, these Brooklyn niggas just on some stupid turn up like, nigga, we here now. And that shit is crazy. I mean, honestly, son, we played Madison Square Garden, right? That night, I don't know, I mean, it's Google now, but who knows if it's documented that way. That night, it got so bad that they said security guards, like elevator doors were open and security guards would be cuffed, sitting in their blood. Wow. You know what I'm saying, with their cuffs on.
That's crazy.
They said they robbed as many girls as they did guys, like every bamboo earring guy. They said Nostrand Avenue was about 30, 35 of them, and they each had their hand on each other's shoulder, and they terrorized the whole joint.
Man, if...
You know what I'm saying? I don't know what... You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what... I mean, I know what element causes that because I come from that, but I don't know what in my music ended up being so... That's violently tribal for these guys.
That was like the original Tear the Club.
Yeah, it was.
The vibrations, man. Some folks just catch vibrations.
That's crazy, B. That's crazy.
100%. Another record, man, that you worked on that, you know, went on to become one of the greatest hip-hop records ever. I think the last time I looked, there was like damn near 300 other songs that sampled it. Was Top Billin'.
Yeah.
How did that come across?
That's another one of those taking a chance. If you want to call it a mistake, that's what that is. I mean, you know, I'm making records. Delight tells me about this group called the Audio 2, this record called I Like Cherries. He used to go to Latin Quarter on Tuesday nights. And used to always come, he was staying with me at the time, he used to come home and sing I Like Cherries. And I was, what the hell are you singing? He says, man, D, you got to hear. I says, is it rap? He said, yeah, it's kind of rap, but they ill. You got to hear.
You see,
them,
audience, this isn't just shit that existed in 2016. Yeah. This was going on in the late 80s, too.
And it was like, what is that? So one time I went with him to Latin Quarter on Tuesday. Red Alert played the I Like Cherries. I said, you're right. The record's hot, right? So went out, bought the record, the 12-inch, and it was independent. And I liked it. And so we were doing a release party for the On Fire album in the Michael Todd room at the Palladium. And in comes the Audio 2 with Nat, and Light is with them. And I say to Milk, I say, yo, you Milk D? He said, yeah. I said, yo, man, if you ever want a producer, man, I'll produce you. And he ran to his father, Daddy, I say you want to produce us. You know, he was all giddy about it, right? And I went on to produce them. So I was working on a record called Make It Funky for them, which was their A-side. And me, Giz, and Nat went upstairs to talk. This is in Staten Island in their home. They had the studio downstairs. It's not really a studio, but a makeshift studio, 4-track and all that. But they had bought their own SP12. And Milk comes upstairs like something's wrong. So he startles us all and says, come downstairs, you gotta hear this, you gotta hear this. And he plays it. And what happens is that he impeached the president by the honey drippers. And SP12 only had like a second or something like that. It was real short sample time. And so what he sampled was as much as he sampled, and it was bumping up against the pattern that I had made for Make It Funky. And it was bananas. If you listen to Top Billin', a lot of times people think they playing the Top Billin' rhythm because they'll just play that top piece. But if you listen to Top Billin', it changes throughout the record.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's because I had made Make It Funky change. Not only did he have that, but he had the whole rhyme.
Wow.
And he says, y'all want to hear what I wrote? And we said, yeah, and he does it. And it's like a classic television show. We're all looking at him, and he thinks he really just did something very whack. You know what I'm saying? And we're like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like, should I change the part that suckers that's down with knee? Because he said that because he's talking about kneeing somebody in their face. He says, you know, should I say we? You know, because I know they think I was going to say we. I said knee for the... I said, hell no. Yeah. He said, should I make it longer? I said, no. And I said, this is what we're going to do. And it worked. I said, look, because all records, you know, at that time, all records is based on whether or not Red Alert plays it or not. Wow, God bless Mr. Magic and everybody. But Red is a guy that you want, right? And that's the same guy that was playing I Like Cherries, right? And so we said, look, we're going to promote Make It Funky. We're going to put Top Billin' on the B-side, and we ain't going to tell nobody that's even there. And we're going to let them feel like they found it, A. And then B, we're going to get more radio play than everybody else because our shit is the size of a PSA. And it all worked out. But, again, the chances. It's the chances. And on top of that, I tell people all the time, that record's a 4-track. Wow. We didn't even change the 4-track. We just mastered the damn 4-track. He did it right there. Really? Go in and re-record? For what? This record is crazy. The dirt and everything. It's bananas. When I heard Top Billin', you know what? I made Top Billin', right? Really, technically, me and Milk made Top Billin'. But I produced, like, once he got it, then, of course, I produced and stuff like that, right? But that feeling, the only other time I had that feeling is when Paul first played me Plug Tuning. It was the same feeling. Like, yo, who does this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who does this shit? Like, yo, it's a lot of dope groups, man. You know, and everybody made some heat, man. You know, but when you do something special like a Top Billin' or a Plug Tuning, that's something different.
Like, it's still go. You can play Top Billin' at any hip hop party anywhere in the world, and you still get a reaction.
It's that guy. That's why I say Delight's the shaper. It's that guy Delight heard on I Like Cherries.
Yeah,
and he heard that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's that guy. Man, the argument when Top Billin' came out was this: he's whack. It's the beat. And I say, you niggas really think that the instrumental get played that many times a day?
No, that all.
You out your mind.
Right.
You know, so, you know, and then later on we end up having those great kind of tinny voices, Easy E, High C, a bunch of other, you know, but Milk was early high voice.
Yeah. You really on your West Coast shit. We done had this a High C reference and a Richie Rich reference in the same show.
You want me to go Andre Nicotina?
Hey, hold on. Okay, now tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm right. I tell people this all the time. Shout out to the homie Keenan.
Shout out Dre
from
Dog.
Dope Only. I tell people all the time, the only other solo rapper I've ever seen control a crowd like Nicki does is Eminem.
Ice-T.
I've never seen Ice-T perform.
Yeah, Ice-T, definitely.
Well, if I have in a long time.
No.
But
Ice-T.
Yeah. Nicki is like, and for somebody who does not have anything on the radio.
Yeah.
Like, I was at a show.
Well, the thing is this. You gotta understand, like, my son just turned me on to this Chicago dude. What's his name? Rico Reckless. You know this dude?
Yeah.
So this nigga's a real street nigga. I only really on that real street level. See, now, I tell you one exception I made, but on the real street level, the only people I've ever fucked with was Mob Style in New York and Nicotina on the West Coast. Because they was the only two people that I knew, like, niggas is talking about what they in it, niggas is talking about what they really are, right?
Right.
By the way, the Daddy-O reference to the best beginning, middle, and end of a record ever made is Train With No Love. It's the best rap record that way by Andre Nicotina. People can say whatever they want, but after you listen to Train With No Love, you see where I'm going with this.
Okay.
Jay-Z's never done that. None of us have ever done. People say, oh, what about Nas with the bullet? That shit is not Train With No Love. This shit is, it's so ridiculous. Like, I'm so mad it wasn't me. Because I wish, you know what I'm saying? And even Pimp and Bun do some dope, Scarface has done some dope stories, but it's not that. So anyway, but I messed with him for that, and I messed with Mob Style for that. And then later on, I had to fuck with 40 and him for that because I hung with him. Yeah. I was doing A&R at Universal, and I had a girl from the West Coast named Passion. And I got everybody on my record. I got Forte on my record, Richie's on my record, 40's on it, of course, Be Legit, you know, all of that. And so I went and I hung with them. And I found out, you know what I'm saying, like fucking with Shot in them. I found, you know what I'm saying, like niggas is real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The shot caller.
Yo. I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? But I really, other than that, wasn't really messing with no rappers that say they street. Like I wasn't mad. I still don't. Like I really don't. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because we know, and anybody will tell you that if somebody is really that, when the cameras come around, you know what them niggas you say? Yo, Daddy-O, man, like either y'all can film in the other room or I gotta leave. Because I'm not doing the like, really? I'm gonna be on the camera?
Right.
They don't do that. So I'm just saying that anytime somebody take that jump and say, I'm gonna be on the camera, it's very, very difficult. You already suspect now.
It's not believable.
Yeah, you already suspect now because you actually want it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had to damn near beg Supreme Magnetic to be in fucking the Microphone Fiend video. And it's his little son that's in it, kicking the thing and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really be seeing none of that element that was around us in those videos because they don't want to be in the video. Right. Lil Dow and them ain't in nobody video. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to be in no video. Like, come on, Daddy-O. Like, come on, Daddy-O. You know what I'm saying? And I can't say nothing. Like, I got to say, okay.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? And so it gets real weird, but that's what you know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, Ice-T had a very good show, man. I mean, he still got a good show. I was with him here in Atlanta when he did that thing.
Rock the Bells.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like when we used to go out with him on the road.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's dope. Like, it's totally different. Like, it's not like, it's rap and it's hip hop, but it's also like political a little bit, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all of that. Like, it almost feels cultural in terms of the experience.
Like, it feels like you get information watching him, not just being entertained.
But you also get culture. Like, his set was like the yard.
Prison joint.
Yeah, he did the whole prison yard, and the whole time niggas is lifting weights, shooting dice, playing basketball, like the whole time. So that's just dope.
Yeah. Definitely. Man, you know, On Fire came out in what, like 86? 86. And then over the 3 years, it seems like you guys grew by leaps and bounds with the next album. Was that from just going out on the road and just getting better at
it? It absolutely was. It was because, again, going back to that original concept of just trying to perfect your craft and be the best in black music and all of that. So now we go overseas. So Dave Klein, Funkin' Klein, he no longer living, took us over for our first tour. Stet is kind of spoiled because we did our first runs overseas. Wow. And the only other time I've heard of this, and I'm not trying to say we those guys, but
Houdini.
The only time I've ever heard of this is the Beatles. Right? They said the Beatles, I don't think we were whack, but they say the Beatles were whack, so they didn't perform in Liverpool. They went like Germany and all these other places and perfected it. So by the time they came back to Liverpool, people liked them. I don't think we were whack, but we really got to cut our teeth overseas because overseas we were able to run a different show. They never stopped us because of time. Mm-hmm. So Chuck D to this day says the best show he's ever seen is Stetsasonic at Paradiso, and that's before we brought the drummer on stage.
Wow.
we used to have them doing the 2 DJ thing with the keyboards. We still had the drum machine, but we didn't bring the drum set out yet. But we had no limitations on time. So we could play with new songs that we was writing, because it's all our equipment. We taking it with us. We could play with stuff that we already did. We could do all of those particular things. By the time we got back to the United States, it was easy, because all that was the damn highlight clip, because they don't allow you no time.
Right.
So the first time we did a big tour, it was only 15 minutes.
All the elements.
So we had to do the highlight clip. Niggas used to say, how the fuck do y'all get that in 15 minutes? We end up doing 8 records in 15 minutes.
Practice.
So, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was exactly what you said. It was going on the road and learning stuff, getting rare groove records from overseas and watching other people perform and, getting out to Oakland, getting out to L.A., coming down to Atlanta, going to Milwaukee and seeing, maybe a couple of local acts. Not a lot, because, promoters didn't really want to take the chance. Plus, our tours was big tours anyway, so a lot of times local acts. I tell you one local act that was very interesting. The first time we were in Oakland, we didn't play. I'll tell you why. We always was used to looking at. We was always used to looking at this wall and seeing what time we go on, and then we was opening.
Was this Henry J. Kaiser or the Coliseum?
I think it was Henry J. Kaiser. But anyway, we look on the thing. So the first person going on is somebody named Too Short, and we like, who the fuck is Too Short? Like, we don't know who Too Short is or whatever. We always open the show. Can't Too Short come on after us? And it was a whole big thing. They called back to New York. They called Leor, all of that type of stuff. But I don't know. One thing led to another. Stetsasonic got a little tight. We said, fuck it, we not playing tonight. So we didn't play that night.
Because y'all couldn't open.
Because we couldn't open. We were used to opening. We were used to opening that first light, everything, boom. We was like, if this is what we got up here, we want to own it. Mm-hmm. And so we were getting something out of that opening, because that's when the lights first go down. And it's a way we was playing it. Yeah. So anyway, I go out at least to see the show, and I see somebody. Well, first, I didn't get to see Too Short perform. Oh, actually, I got to see the end. It was crazy, because I'm seeing the whole audience quoting songs and yelling shit, and I'm bugging out.
That you've never heard before.
Yeah, and they don't do that shit for like nobody on my tour, including LL, right? So I'm like, holy shit. And then what the ill part was, like, by the time Eric B. and Rakim came on stage, I see like a mountain of things moving through the crowd, and it's just niggas with Too Short on their shoulders moving this nigga to the front of the crowd.
And that's why, like, fast forward to now, man, cats be acting like they damn near offended if you like, hey, man, you got to open up. Man, no, wait too long. No,
it was interesting, man. But I mean, seeing all of that, seeing all of that, just gave us more. And so, we had a little bit more, a little better budget, right? We knew a little bit more about our equipment. We were making stuff. Chuck always says the tour that we did, the Def Jam tour that we did in '88, he always says 3 hip-hop classics came off that bus. Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy, In Full Gear by Stetsasonic, and 3 Feet High and Rising by De La Soul, because Paul was writing that record on that bus. So that was that. That's the feeling. Like, it was that kind of thing. And I think something I talk about often now. I think that the concentration was there for the masterpiece, and I think that that's why you hear what you hear. People go, "Oh, those are classic records," and da da da. But I think I think some of what gave form to that was that the guys who were making it were trying to make masterpieces. They really was trying to make these pieces that, like, this is a masterpiece album, and not really, Chuck taught us this technique of, like, cutting 30 records and picking what you need for your album. Find out what you're going to throw away. And you might hold on something till the last minute and then be like, but that's what it was, man. I mean, it was really all about that. And that's how guys got better. If you listen to Yo Bum Rusta Show and Nations, or you listen to On Fire and In Full Gear, you don't hate Yo Bum Rusta Show, nor do you hate On Fire. But then when you get to them second records, you like,
Yeah.
the hell, man? Because we figured out how to balance it out.
100%.
That's watching other people.
100%. Now, the whole, people always, and you spoke about just how it was like a battle between rappers and how everybody hated rap music. And that kind of came to a head, at least to the public, with the Talking All That Jazz song after James Mtume went on the radio and was talking crazy about hip hop.
Right.
So was that something like immediately where y'all was like, yo, we got to go in on this?
Absolutely not. It was Delight again, right? Delight.
He's like the CMO of Stetsasonic.
Yeah, right. Delight had an idea to do a record called Talking All That Jazz because he says, Daddy-O, there are such a big correlation between rap and jazz. Yep. This stuff looks so much the same, man, in smoky clubs. Like, he was like, yo, D, this shit is almost the same thing. It's crazy. You're Charlie Parker. I'm Bird. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, right? And he wanted to do this song using Lonnie Liston Smith's expansions about the correlation between hip-hop and jazz. And that was the plan. That's what we was going to go in and do. Start jotting down little things here and there, whatever. Bobby Simmons, my drummer, called me one day and said, D, are you listening to the radio? Pick up D. Answer machine days and stuff. You listen to the radio? And he basically said, man, listen to Van Silk and them Tume and them. They on the radio and they're running around because, he's in the band. Bobby been in bands his whole life. We are telling ourselves we a band and all of that, you know what I'm saying? He says, man, they saying from sampling, we creating a generation of non-creative musicians. And every time he would be on the radio, it never got coordinated that me and Toombs could be in the same broadcast. So he would say something, and then I would come on in 2 weeks and say something, and, it was like that kind of thing, you know? And so, and Van Silk is part of that, too. That's Salon Remy father. Van a part of that shit too, because he was way on it like that. And so I told Delight for the first time, I wrote 100% of Talking All That Jazz. I told Delight and Fruquan for the first time, I said, I got this. Everything else that we did lyrically before that was a collaborative effort. I said, I got this. They said, are you sure, D? I said, yeah, I got to do this. And I wrote it. And I wrote it thinking about Eric and Parrish and the way they passed the mic. Because I knew I didn't want to do this record where it's just me. You know what I'm saying? I needed it to break up. And so I did it the way that I did it. I wrote it like I used to write our routines out like that. And I wrote it on one of those, the same way, and we did it like that. But yeah, it was, it was Operation Fight Back at that point, because I didn't agree, I didn't agree that this is what we were doing. I thought we were trying to perfect something and come to some conclusion and figure out how to make this music a real music that everybody accepts and stuff like that. And, he saw it differently. And I got the mic, I'm a rapper. So I wanted to do that. And then, imagine, put it this way. Here's my reality for Talking All That Jazz. Imagine being Kendrick, right? Mm-hmm. And having a dope song and knowing that you're going to have 3,000 and Jay Electronica on this record with you. But you're going to write the lyrics for 3,000 and Jay Electronica. But you're going to have them voices, but you're going to put them in where you want.
Right.
That's heaven.
Yeah.
So I knew what I had with Delight and Fruquan. If you look, it's always, we always been, it's very much like in our minds, very much like the Temptations. I'm a David Ruffin, Fruquan's a Eddie Kendricks, Delight's a Melvin Franklin. A low voice, and a guy who sing the pitches.
Yeah.
And so I knew I had them guys. So I'm the one writing, you know what I'm saying? You know, if Fuquan is gonna say, and if we did not, people would have forgot. Cause I know how it's gonna sound coming out of that guy who said it ain't nothing like hip hop. I know how he sounds. He's sarcastic. His voice is sarcastic, and the Light's voice is grandfather brash. Like, sit down, sucker.
Right.
Let's start with that and time travel a little bit, because like, you know, the discussion and the debate that you just, you know, kind of painted for us, we're seeing it right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it's somebody like Pete Rock saying that Young Dolph and Yachty are whack or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Can you see correlations in that? And when I ask you that, I also want to know, do you think that some of these younger cats that are catching so much flack for, sometimes, I guess, like some of them, they say something outlandish and people say, oh, you're disrespecting the culture, or you're just straight out whack, you can't rap. Do you think that these kind of discussions can have any kind of impact to the point where it's like it can force them to kind of do what you did and be like, hey, you know what? First of all, I got to go back at this motherfucker. 2, I got to make sure that I actually am dope. Do you see that happening? Do you see any correlation between, you know, what you and James went through?
I don't, and maybe that's my age, right? Because later on, I went to work for Universal, and I was entrusted, along with Hank Shockley and a couple of other folks, to find some staff, and we tried to hire Mtume to do a section of the label called MCA Classics, because we had Patty on the label when I got there. We had Patty, we had Gladys, we had somebody else too. So it was like we had some classic people around. I think we was gonna sign Nona. So, you know what I'm saying, we had some guys, so we wanted somebody like Mtume to do, you know, the classic division of that. And when I met him that day up in LA, he said, you see what I'm saying now, Daddy-O? And what he was saying was, he says, because at that time rap had diluted and some, you know, he said, that's what I was talking about. They didn't get you. They wasn't trying to be you. They was just trying to, you know, and the reason I say there's no correlation, because I don't think that they come to those kind of conclusions. Very important to note, I did it through a record. Very important to note. Not a blog, not anything. And so,
not a magazine at that time.
My issue is
tweets.
This. If you spitting, like right now I'm spitting. I was scheduled to do an album a quarter. I'm only holding it because we're trying to do some special things in these last weeks that exist here. And then we're going to come with the No Tablecloths record next week. I'm holding the Powder Burn video right now. Like, you know, we moving, right? If you spitting, then nigga, spit. And let it end up there. If everybody just say, yo, you a grumpy old man, then you just got to take that on the chin and keep it pushing. You see what I'm saying? But they definitely gonna say you the grumpy old man if you just doing it from your soapbox.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? Because it doesn't come, it doesn't really work.
It's kind of like saying you dissing a dude because they don't know their forefathers or they don't rap right, but you are a rapper, but you ain't even rapping.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult thing. Plus, it's so many things to factor in, that if you really factored it in, you know, you probably wouldn't say much, you know what I'm saying? Because there's so many factors. And unless you're going to, you know, it's no different than, I'll give you an example, a really good example. Take any hood where there's a dysfunctional family and a dysfunctional boy of 14 or 15 in that family. How you going to help? Because if you stop by once a week, that ain't helping. If you giving half the time, that ain't helping, because all he does is look for your give, right? Like, how you gonna help? And the only way you really can help is you got to get really involved. Like, there's got to be some real commitment there, or you will not help this boy. You'll help him be worse. You might as well just leave him alone and go pray for him somewhere, because you're gonna hurt this boy. You're going to come in his life and leave. He going to look at you and say, motherfuckers leave all the time, so I might as well rob you before you leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to help him. And so you got to factor in who these kids are. You know what I'm saying? I just got off the phone with my son, right? I call my son, right? I'm listening to this new Weeknd album. And so my son is a very interesting person. And I say, yo, what is it? Because I have to ask him. What is it because we agree on like 99% of the stuff, right? And from two totally different. He listened to something totally different than me. It's things he listened to that I don't say they not whack, but it ain't my cup of tea. Like I don't like apathy like that. I don't like self-titled like that, but these niggas are nice.
Right.
I don't like Vinny Paz like that, but they nice like that. But I'm a big battle rap fan, so I might be on some Daylight T-Rex shit. And he's like, he don't really like them. He don't like that style of battle rap. But then we might agree down the middle on something like Czarface, right? So anyway, I called him. I said, yo, what is this shit? Where you got guys like Kendrick who are not from the street, but they seen a lot. Guys like The Weeknd who the hell knows where he from, but it's the same. But they talking so reckless on a record. What is that? And my son came up with two things that I enjoyed. One is he says, nowadays everything goes. Everything goes. And then the other thing he says, that's what I was trying to tell you the other night about Jake. Nobody checks anybody. And he gave me this whole scenario about bullies. And he says, you know, I think the bullies in my high school were necessary. Like somebody needed to be there. He says nobody checks anybody. And so what happens is that people get away with it. So the issue is never going to be Lil Yachty. The issue is Drake. Why the fuck are you not saying something about Drake, Pete Rock?
Because
you understand what I'm trying to say?
He wants to continue to eat.
Yeah, and you know what I'm saying? Like these guys are not the problem.
It's
like they're not your problem. If you listen to them, you will find out they really are not your problem. Like these little niggas got their own thing, and either it's gonna work or it ain't. And guess what? They think like that too. Either it's gonna work or it ain't. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like they think like that too, but then they also in their own time. They're also in their own era. You understand what I'm trying to say? You want to start trying to do the quality and the quantity and the lyricist argument, nigga, go right ahead. But it's like we say this all the time. I say this to my Christian brothers and sisters all the time. Why are you going to judge somebody that's not biblical by the Bible? If you really know that, if you a sinner saved by grace, recognize that. You ain't saved by yourself, so you ain't saving him. Preach Christ crucified, and leave it alone. Stop judging him by that. Now, if you want to judge a Christian by Christian standards, by all means. That's why I judge street niggas by street standards. Because that's where I'm from. So I'm like, I'm checking you. Like, nigga, what are you doing? And just like suburban kids should judge suburban kids by suburban standards. It should all work like that. And so I just think that it gets weird when you judging Yachty by Nas's standards. You can't do that.
Not at all.
You see what I'm saying? You can't do that now. If you want to judge Yachty versus Migos, go right ahead and watch Migos run through these niggas. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, for real. Like, watch them get beat. Because them niggas is rapping. I don't care what you say. Them little niggas is rapping. They doing their own thing, but they rapping. This is their thing. And besides for Little B, Migos created this whole world. They shouldn't call it trap music. They should call it Migos music. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Flow, for sure.
Yeah, that's so I'm if that's where you going with it, then go there with it. But don't, dude. And then the other thing, man, is that how can you judge anybody by the grades? Some of these niggas are so special. You don't understand how special. How do you end up being a Nas? Mm-hmm. Somebody tell me, because nigga, I'm not that, and I want to be, but I can never be.
Yeah,
I just can't get it. I can get what the Daddy-O gets, but that's all I've been given, man, is what I got. And so when it comes down to some of that other stuff that them dudes do, I just got to sit back and watch Micah 9 and say, wow, man, that's dope. I can't even try to jump in. Because I can't do it, bro. And so I just think that people don't, certain cats are going to be that special nigga. What was it like to defend Allen Iverson? I mean, for real, B. Nigga little, he got braids, tattoos, nigga shaking you out your shoes. What's that like? All you do is go home and say, I just seen God. Or I just seen God's work. That's all you can say. Did you try? Every defender tried, man. Those guys were trying, dude. They wasn't... the year that Steph won the championship, everybody that was defending Steph was trying, right? 100%. They was in his face. Yeah. They was putting their hands up. It just, the ball was going in. Same thing happened with Kyrie last year. Stop these people that are put on the earth as great anything. Stop comparing people to them because you're never going to find nobody like them. And you're just going to keep running around saying, oh, he ain't as good as so-and-so. He ain't. Because you never, and then you've judged him against another great, which is almost like, how do you measure Chamberlain and Shaq? You probably can't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But stop doing that. Let everybody play in a league. If you're going to play in a league, then that's different. Here's what I think about my generation. I don't think we study enough. I think we did in the past. I think back in the day, we would go to the record store and buy everything in there. I got records from Enjoy Records that I ain't even proud that I have. They whack as hell. Same thing with Sugar Hill and all them other labels. All them labels put out some whack shit. If you see something on Profile, you just grab the shit. Shit corny as, you know what I'm saying?
The stuff that does not make the history books.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? That's why 40 and them start doing shit like Sick With It, because if you grabbed the Sick With It record, you knew what you was getting. Yeah. You couldn't get that from the other labels because the labels was, as much as they helped us, they still was trying to make money. So they would try to do something in between and all of that kind of stuff. So, that that's part of study. Buying all those records, listening to all those records, seeing if this is good, that ain't good, seeing who work, who don't work, seeing how so-and-so rocks at a show, so-and-so gets booed at a show, all of that's work. You know what I'm saying? And, nigga, just because you old don't mean that you ain't got to study. Like, yes, it shouldn't be over like that. Now, I think if they looked at these little dudes a little harder and they was a little more informed, it wouldn't come out the way that it comes out.
That's kind of scary that you say that, because if that's true, that means that the young cats ain't studying and the older cats ain't studying.
But
that's
exactly the way it is.
Dumb motherfuckers running around.
But that's exactly the way it is. Nobody's studying.
That's insane.
Ain't nobody studying.
That's
who you think is studying?
It's few.
LL can't study because the nigga he got to learn lines.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So who's studying? Ain't nobody really got study. You know who got time to study? 2 people, me and Chuck. And that's all you ever hear from, right? It's me and him. Yeah. On all these subjects, the only 2 people you ever hear from is me and him.
Yeah. And
that's because even though we still making records, even though we still on tour, even though we doing all of that, we still taking the time to say that the legacy, right? I don't give a fuck if you don't think Migos is the legacy. They are. The legacy is worth listening to. What you call him said it. Banky said it in one of the best rhymes ever. Is that Lloyd Banks freestyle for Flex. You ever heard that joint? Mm-hmm. That joint's crazy. And he said, my ears ain't broke, so everything gets heard. That's the philosophy, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to hear it all. If you don't hear it all at least once, you don't run through it at least once, then you can't really say anything about anything.
Right.
It's going to be very difficult. If you haven't listened to the records, you can't say nothing, because you know what? How many times you get an album that you like, or somebody else got an album, your sister, your brother, whoever, your cousin got an album, where you looking at the person and like, man, that person whack. But if you get in the car with them and the whole album play, you're going to find one of them joints, nah, this joint right here, this one is all right. And then when y'all coming back, you like, yo, play that joint that you played the other joint, right? And it may lean you into respecting that artist a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But you got to do it. It's like my wife and Beyonce. My wife is going to reach that point when she watches that On the Run tour video with me. She hasn't done it yet. Mm-hmm. But once you watch the On the Run tour, nigga, I'm 55. Shaka ain't never worked that hard. Aretha ain't never worked that hard. Whitney ain't never worked that hard. I could keep going, bro. Vesta ain't never worked that hard. Not that hard.
Yeah.
And so when I see that work, I'm like,
you gotta respect
man, this nigga's still doing riffs. I produced some of the best in the world. Jeffrey Osborne. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. She's singing and dancing, man, like that. Come on, man. I ain't even gotta like the content. I gotta respect the work.
Right.
I gotta respect the work. I gotta respect it. But again, I'm watching it, right? I'm listening to it. So that's different than somebody that's not watching it and not listening to it or only hearing the hit. You know,
or even sound bites. Like they'll see like an Instagram clip and be like,
sorry.
What the fuck
That's
is
a sorry.
this?
That's a sorry excuse for listening.
It's like social media. Somebody posts a story, they read the headline, they've never clicked on the story to read it. It's the same thing with the music.
It's horrible.
It's like,
but look, ain't an old nigga in the world supposed to be like that. We supposed to be some old slow niggas. Right? That's what we supposed to be. We supposed to be old slow niggas that hear it all and we move a little slow. We move out there in coffee cup slow. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yo. Ain't no way in the world we supposed to be getting caught up in the world of sound bites.
Okay, that was enough. The Daddy-O interview went a lot longer than we thought it would go. It was so good that we got to break it up into 2 parts. So we'll be back next week with part 2 where we dive deeper into his history in hip-hop, the solo work with Chuck D, his work with the Smithsonian, and his work in the tech space. So, you know, Professor Daddy-O's had 30 years in the game. You can't cover it in just an hour. So check back with us next week for part 2 of the interview with Professor Daddy-O from Stetsasonic. You're listening to Day One Radio on ABLradio.com. We will see you next week.